Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today I wanted to talk about the video games industry and how it is changing today. And some would say that the video games industry is burning or falling apart, but in my opinion, this is really only happening to the big AAA studios. And even though it's only happening to them, it does suck to see our favorite IPs get canceled or not get any attention, or even some of our favorite studios get shut down or have massive layoffs by these big companies. But I wanted to take a more positive look at it and see really how the indie game studios and AA gaming studios are taking over the gaming industry right now. And before I do, please don't forget to leave a like on the video, as it really helps us out. And if you can, if you're on mobile, please hype the video up. That also really helps the video get shown to more people. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, as this is what we talk about or stuff that I'm really interested in. So that'll be really appreciated. And don't forget to share the video with anyone that might find it interesting as well. So one of the main things I wanted to talk about is all the success that Slay the Spire II has generated, as it's recently come out for early access. And if you don't know, Slay the Spire II is a roguelike deck builder where you have different classes and you use different cards and abilities to beat the enemy, and it really has like that roguelike aspect to it, making it a really difficult game to play. But it really generated a lot of hype from the very first game they created. It's pretty crazy because I believe the studio is only like around 5 people, if I'm not wrong, and the hype that the second one that just came out generated is so crazy because of all the fans returning from the very first game and the second game coming out after a few years after the first one came out. But what's even crazier about Slay the Spire 2 is that not only is this an indie game studio being able to generate as much hype as a AAA game would back in the day or even now, but they released this game alongside Marathon and had a way higher player count than Marathon. And Marathon had this huge marketing budget by Bungie and Sony, and they were really pushing this game out and charging, $40 because it was going to be this next big multiplayer game from Bungie, who are really experienced in making games like Halo and Destiny and have a lot of experience in the shooter genre basically. And seeing Marathon only get around, let's say, I think it was, I'll put a screenshot up, around 80,000 players compared to Slay the Spires is actually pretty insane. And the thing is, Slay the Spire 2 is only in early access. So that means this game isn't even completely done yet. And what's crazy is that this small indie studio was able to make a game that gave you even more compared to the first game. So the first game is similar in the aspect that it's a roguelike deck builder, but it was just a single player game. And in this new game, they were able to make it co-op, so you can play from two up to 4 players, I believe. So you got this small indie studio doing all of this, generating so much hype. And the thing is, like, they don't have the marketing budget that these big AAA studios have, or that Sony and Xbox, Microsoft have to advertise their games to the whole world basically. It's really just word of mouth for these small indie games, and as much budget as they can to actually advertise it or post online. And seeing it do these huge amount of numbers for the players and sales is pretty inspiring, because that's only going to breed more inspiration for other developers that really want to create their own games and create these indie games that could really be better than most AAA games that come out nowadays. And comparing it to other AAA games, I mean, just look at the recent example of Highguard that came out in January. And I was thinking about making a video about this, but basically every YouTuber has talked about Highguard at this point, so I'm just going to include it alongside this video and just talk about it quickly. But if you want more details on it, there's a bunch of YouTubers that have already talked about Highguard. But essentially the TLDR is that they released this game, or I guess shadow dropped it, right, in January, after drawing a bunch of hype from the Game Awards. And it was supposed to be, I guess, like this 3v3 sort of MOBA, also hero shooter. I don't know, it was pretty weird. And the thing is that it was this big game that we eventually found out Tencent was pouring money into it for these ex-Titanfall Apex devs, which was really supposed to be the big hype about it. But the game ended up being just very generic and not really inspiring or new in any sort of way. So when they shadow dropped this game, or I guess it wasn't really shadow dropped, We all knew it was going to come out in January after that final announcement at the Game Awards. But before the Game Awards, they were planning to just shadow drop it, like no marketing or anything, before the Game Awards happened. So yeah, I don't think it was going to go really good for them with no marketing. Like, this is a brand new studio, and really the only hype that they had about themselves is that they were ex Titanfall and Apex devs. I think that doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, created a very generic game that no one really found fun to play. It was pretty similar, or it didn't give anything new compared to some of these cool games coming out. So we have these AAA studios, essentially, because the studio that developed Highguard had all that Tencent money to back them. So some people are even saying that Highguard was basically an industry plant, trying to make it seem like they were a brand new indie studio creating a brand new game, but that's not really the deal. So you see these big companies having all this funding behind them, and they still fail to create a game that people really enjoy. And I think the problem is that these indie game studios and these indie developers really have more passion than these big companies, right? The big companies are really only focused on how many microtransactions you can fit into a game, or how profitable a game can be, or if you can generate the next Fortnite to generate income for the next 10 or more years, right? While an indie game studio or indie game developer or solo developer is focusing on, what inspires them and what's going to be a game that people are going to enjoy. And something else that really bothers me too is how these big AAA studios or gaming companies, have the budget to even improve their game after they release, at a bad state. Like, even some smaller studios, not so small, like Hello Games that created No Man's Sky, once they released their game first in 2016, it wasn't really what they promised or what gamers expected. But as the years went on, they kept updating the game and actually putting what they promised the game would be. And actually today, No Man's Sky is a pretty solid game, and that's what's kept them alive for these past couple of years, because they were able to regain, the players' trust in developing a game that is actually worth, putting your time into. And that could be so easy for some of these big companies, but they would rather, save their dollar and close a gaming studio down because of one failure. And I just want to go over like some indie games that really show, what gaming is. Just even besides Slay the Spire II, you can think, Hytale came out right now recently, and that was a game created because the original Hytale devs, have their own Minecraft server, Hypixel, and they're really inspired by Minecraft and Mojang when, before they were bought out by Microsoft. And Hytale, you can see, is really when a sole developer hones into, what inspires them and wants to develop their own game and something that could be really fun to play and really is unique. And Hytale is putting, players first and really opening it up to the modding community, and that in itself is already generating a lot of hype. And this game is really still in its early phases. Like, it's not even in early access or in beta. I believe it's even in like alpha right now or something like that. But even some other games that have come out recently, like some examples that come off the top of my head are Cult of the Lamb, Factorio, even some of the friend slop games that have come out recently, like Peak, Are We There Yet? All of these games really show why it matters for someone to actually be interested in gaming, rather than a soulless creative company trying to chase the next big thing. You're not really connecting with your fan base, you're not really connecting with the players or trying to help them, find something that they can actually pour their time into that's worthwhile. Instead, even with, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, even with all like the AI hype and everything going on now, these companies are trying to find a way to even implement that into gaming. It just really ruins the experience for all of us, because some are even leaving the hobby because there aren't many good AAA games coming out, and every big company just wants to automate generating games or generating assets, or how we can get the next best graphics by using frame generation and all these things. And that's another thing I'll talk about later with some of the NVIDIA DLSS 5 news that came out. But leave some comments below for some of the indie games that really inspire you. I've definitely missed a lot of indie games that are out there that have come out for even the past 10 years, but I really think the indie game studio and AA studio or studios are going to be the one that lead the gaming industry for, I think pretty much the future now, because now that even some tools are coming out, anyone can use Unreal Engine 5. We got open source engines coming out left and right, like Godot and many other gaming engines that people can use and really develop their own game, own their IP, and not have to pay royalties to Epic Games or anyone else. But it's becoming more accessible. Even though hardware is becoming expensive now, open source software is really helping it on that side, for really making it easy for anyone to generate a game. Like if we even look at some examples like Balatro was written in Lua, which is like, if you know code development or coding languages, Lua is Python-esque in a way, or very similar to Python, and that makes it really easy for anyone to even write some code for your game and make it pretty simple. Like in Balatro was one of the nominations for Game of the Year, so it really shows you that it's not how much money you pour into developing a game, it's really how much you're inspired to create this game and really create something unique compared to everyone else. But yeah, that's something I just wanted to rant about today. Like I said before, leave some comments below for some of your favorite indie games that have come out in the recent time or past couple of years, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe again. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.